I wish I could come to you with a tremendous amount of great news about how easy it is to sell non-English language films around the world. To be honest, it used to be much easier. The marketplace for international cinema was much stronger across a much broader range of countries and with many diverse kinds of films up until 5-10 years ago. But as patterns of distribution changed, as television buying patterns changed in many countries, as the definition of what art house cinema was, I used to call it the Miramaxation of art house cinema, as it sort of took hold around the world, the ease of licensing art house cinema or non-English language cinema changed and became much more difficult. We have to look for films that have universal elements, have universal language, that speak to universal conditions. So that's what we look for when we talk to young first-time or second-time filmmakers.
When I look at a film, I tend to look at, I proceed intuitively. I don't tick boxes. I look at a story, and if it works for me, if I'm moved by it, and if the film offers a new way of telling a story, a cinematic language, a new cinematic language, if it's fresh, if the acting is good. And then I look at, okay, it's non-English, then, okay, and I put it in a box, and when I discuss it with my sales colleagues, I know what the potential is. And we adapt the strategy to its potential.
Our biggest film this year, period, is a foreign language film, is a non-English speaking film, which is Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And the series has been, the first 2 installments have been very, very successful for us. But overall, at the end of, I went back knowing I was going to be on this panel. In the last 22 months, 17% of all the films we played were non-English speaking films.
So when we try to make a film in our region more accessible to the American market, for instance, we probably end up with a naive film that would not work in our region because it's actually not a real film about our region. It's a film explaining our region to an audience that do not know anything about it. So when you bring the same film here, everybody would start telling you, this is naive, it's much more complicated than that, it's dealing very simply. And I'm talking about some of the real hits that people here received as being too simplified, too illustrative.
The problem with media over here is that, well, not over here specifically, but in the Middle East, is that, you know, they won't have any sort of interest in, you know, reporters. I'll give you just an example. I mean, when we have press screenings, for example, a lot of the reporters don't come because the bosses perceive that as entertainment. So, yeah, going to review a film, well, you're having fun, you know what, just stay in the office, watch it once it's out in the theater. I mean, to me as a distributor, even if I get a bad review, I don't mind, but, you know, go out there, talk about the film, talk about the subject, talk about how relevant it is to the region. You get none of that.
Could the internet change that, maybe?
It is, but but again, when it comes to, if you want to access the Arab audience, you need the Arab media to talk about it. You need it in Arabic. That's never out there. It really is never out there. It's rare that you see an article about, you know, an Elia Suleiman film, for example. It's really rare. You'd find it once it's out in theaters, but how is that going to fruit the film? It never does.
And I just keep coming back to quality and the relationship that you have with producers, I think, which everybody has said, is that if you share ideas early, help shape it for your audience and know whether you're making something for the region or whether you are actually making something for a global audience. With animation, for example, animation can reach a global audience. Kids the world over are watching similar content. A 3-year-old in Beijing or a 3-year-old in, you know, Boston aren't that different. So you can develop shows from the region which can be exported internationally. JCC are doing a good job of that in the kids sector with Saladin. They have a TV agent appointed for Nan and Lily. We've seen the 99. Let's see how that goes, but it's on air in America on The Hub, a big Hasbro-driven channel. One of the world's biggest toy companies has taken a show that was originated from the region. So I'm positive about it, for sure.